Coming up next on Meet the Farmer TV, the Heritage Harvest Festival. Meet the Farmer TV is made possible by Planet Earth Diversified, Melly Productions, and Leslie P. Jenkins Photography and Graphic Design. Culpeper's Channel 21, helping to preserve the agricultural history of Virginia, and Flavor Magazine, serving the Piedmont's local food and wine culture. Here we are, sunrise at Mont Alto, Mr. Jefferson's high mountain, overlooking Monticello, the location for the 3rd annual Harvest Festival. Today on Meet the Farmer TV, we're going to interview the 2 organizers of the Heritage Harvest Festival, Peter Hatch and Ira Wallace. We'll also have a special conversation with Mr. Tom Burford, known as Professor Apple, an international authority on apples and especially heirloom apples. Arugula to zucchini at the White House.
Save the family farm.
In the kitchen.
In the end, the bill passed.
Be a model for local food production.
It's for locally grown food.
It's about market access.
Plants don't have personalities. I got one.
I call it the new American agriculture, and our whole agriculture education system is going to change.
We have a great solution to some of these crises that we're now facing.
And you're watching.
And you're watching.
And you're watching.
And you're watching
Meet the Farmer TV. First, let's talk to Peter Hatch, the groundskeeper for Monticello.
Well, today we're at the Heritage Harvest Festival at Monticello, September 12th, 2009. It's a celebration of local food, traditional heirloom seeds, and the garden legacy of Thomas Jefferson. And I'm the director of gardens and grounds at Monticello, and I've been at Monticello for 32 years. And my role has been to take care of the 2,400 acres that the foundation, which runs Monticello, owns, and take care of Thomas Jefferson's garden and restore them, and also to tell the story about Thomas Jefferson and gardening and horticulture at Monticello. And it's a rich, rich story. I refer, for example, to the vegetable garden at Monticello as Thomas Jefferson's revolutionary garden. And it's remarkable in its size and scope. It's 1,000 feet long and supported by a stone wall, and below the wall is a 400-tree orchard. And here Jefferson documented the planting of 330 varieties of vegetables and 170 varieties of fruit. And one wonders if any man had ever before grown so many different kinds of things in one place before Thomas Jefferson did that at Monticello. And he imported plants and seeds from all over the world, particularly vegetable plants. And what makes the Monticello garden really unique is that Jefferson, for the first time, assembled a lot of hot weather vegetables, things that came from Central and South America and Africa and even Asia. Things we take for granted now, like tomatoes and okra and eggplants, like peppers and sweet potatoes and lima beans, like peanuts or crowder peas. And these were really new vegetables at the time, and he not only planted them at Monticello, often quite actively, himself, sowing the seeds in the ground, but he also developed sort of a revolutionary cuisine in the kitchen at Monticello that was based on the eating of all these vegetables. Jefferson was primarily a vegetarian. He said he ate meat only as a condiment to his meals. So this garden was really a very, very important garden in terms of all these different things that Thomas Jefferson experimented with. And as President of the United States, Jefferson was also important because he kept a chart while president of the comings and goings of the Washington, D.C. farmers market. And he kept a chart over 8 years of the appearance and then disappearance of some 37 different vegetables. And according to one of his friends, it was Jefferson himself, when he was serving as president, who went to foreign embassies and collected unusual seeds and passed them out to local farmers, who in turn brought them, grew them in their gardens, and sold them at the farmers market. As well, Jefferson's French maitre d', a man named Etienne Lemaire, was quoted as saying that Jefferson told him to pay the highest prices for the earliest produce. Lemaire also kept a log of all his purchases from the farmers market in 1806, and you see what went to the president's table, lots and lots of vegetables. They bought lettuce 100 times from this farmers market, and parsley 93 times. So Jefferson did a lot, I think, in terms of fostering local food at the time. Not that there was too many alternatives, but experimental gardening was sort of Jefferson's place in the history of horticulture. And today we're celebrating not only Thomas Jefferson, but also the local food movement. And and also the preservation of historic seeds and all sorts of different things. And it's an exciting day. We have food demonstrations and seed swaps and cider making programs. We have over 30 programs. We have a tomato tasting with over 80 different varieties of tomatoes, reflecting the diversity of our vegetable germplasm. We have cooking demonstrations from some of the great restaurants in Charlottesville. We're going to have music soon. So it's really an exciting day. And the Heritage Harvest Festival is sponsored by Monticello, the Thomas Jefferson Foundation. We're trying to, again, educate people about the garden legacy of Thomas Jefferson, but also the Southern Exposure Seed Exchange, a local seed company that focuses on traditional varieties that are well adapted for this part of the world. So these are themes that are really at the heart of the Jefferson experience. The local farmer, the small farmer, hard work, the preservation of seed, experimenting with new varieties, opposing sort of the homogenization not only of American agriculture, but American culture in general by preserving local things. And so that's what the Heritage Harvest Festival is all about. There's a great genius to where we're having this festival. We're on Thomas Jefferson's Montalto. And Montalto in Italian means high mountain as opposed to Monticello, which means little mountain. And Jefferson had a lot of plans for the top of Montalto, including lookout towers and waterfalls. Many of them never realized. But we were able, the foundation owns and operates Monticello, was able to purchase Montalto from the grips of local land developers about 5 years ago. And we paid a lot of money for it, but it's worth it. It was a great victory for historic preservation. And to be able to have a festival on top of this mountain is a pretty unique experience. If you look to the other direction to the east, there's nothing higher between this mountain and Portugal. You see the whole world of Central Virginia. It's about as local as you can get in terms of capturing the genius of our place, that is of Central Virginia. And I think the festival with local crafts and local seed growers and the seed swap and cider making workshops and local vendors like the Vintage Virginia Apples, which is selling heirloom varieties of apples, or Southern Exposure Seed Exchange, which is selling really regional seeds that do well in our part of the world. I think it's regionality that's really one of the important features of the Heritage Harvest Festival.
Wasn't that great? If you want more information about Peter Hatch, go to the Thomas Jefferson Foundation website. Now let's talk to Ira Wallace from Southern Exposure Seed Exchange, the festival coordinator.
This is the Heritage Harvest Festival, and it started just as an idea that, there are so many, local varieties that people don't know about. And as anyone who goes to a farmer's market, when you see and taste these varieties and see that there's something different here, there's flavor and color and texture that you don't always get, that they get excited about it. And people want to know, so where are we going to get this stuff? And we as a seed company find a lot of people just are not familiar with varieties that we are. They don't even know there's a local seed company. And so we got this idea a few years ago, we should do something. And we joked and said, but we could do it at Monticello. And my friend and I got up the nerve to just walk over, send a letter and an email saying, so why don't we do this, to Peggy Cornett, who is at that time the director of the Center for Historic Plants. And they talked about it for a while and said, okay. I was totally shocked. And, and then we just started looking at what things we could do. And the whole thing, like have food that was made out of local ingredients, have lots of things for people to taste, have workshops that talk with people about how they can grow things, how they can take care of their soil as gardeners, how to do ecological pest control, and growing and eating and buying in your local community. And so we started out kind of funky, and now it's really big. And this location we have this year up at Mount Alto is amazing. You just can see the whole county. It's so beautiful. Here we have two main kind of tents that you can just come and see things are the Master Gardener tent that has a whole area of things that are kind of family oriented, activities for kids and families that are a live beehive, and rain barrel, a working model so you can see how it's going to be at your home, vermicomposting and stuff like that. One of our central features is the fresh produce tasting. We feature a lot of the varieties that we grow at Southern Exposure, and we invite other farmers from the farmers markets to send their varieties so that people can sample them. We try to have 100 fresh produce varieties for people to sample every year. This year we had, farms, some farmers market, the local food hub here. A new thing was a backyard revolution that had more country skills and tanning and all these things that you wouldn't just think. We had a seed swap in the morning, so people who grow and save seeds were sharing them with those who were new to the whole idea, and that was really wonderful. We have lots of workshops about all those topics, and seed saving is a string throughout. There's all that. There were tours that you could go down and have a special seed savers tours in the gardens at Monticello. Oh my goodness, we had a chef's tent this year. This was the first time we got some of our local chefs to come out and make it right before your eyes, and you could taste it and think about all the fun places. And it featured chefs who buy local produce and local meats, so that when you go there, you know that you're really supporting your local economy in a multitude of ways. And that we had music. I forgot about that. That too. And that sort of happened because two young singer-songwriters, Devin Sproul and Adrian Young, volunteered to do a benefit concert to help pay for all these tents and porta potties that go along with having an event. And we thought, why don't we have some of that at the festival itself? And so that was, you could take a relaxing moment when gather your thoughts and eat your lunch and listen to music, and that was really fun too. Some of the things that we like having more local producers. When we tell people they should buy food locally, it's nice to have an example of the whole range of things that they can do. People like services like that we don't have so much represented, like they like somebody who will help them with their gardening or their taking care of their trees or something. I'd like to have more of those people here, and maybe we can have them be a speaker too and give them even more publicity for their business, because that's something that customers ask about. People want more plants. Somebody who was selling a lot of herb plants would I do this herb workshop, and people are like, where can I buy this stuff? And I don't do plants. And so it would be great to have someone who, did stuff like that. The application is not online, but it will be probably by December, because we were thinking it would be easier if the initial application was up there that people would download. And, at this point, though, we have an email that's festival at heritageharvestfestival.com, and then I'll send you information about these things. Although it's going to take us a while to regroup and figure out what's happening next year.
And now what we've all been waiting for, Mr. Tom Burford, Professor Apple.
I was nearly born under an apple tree and have been dealing with it for nearly 3/4 of a century. But I was at the same time very naive. I grew up in a remote part of Amherst County, and my family had about close to 100 apple varieties and maybe 30 or 40 peach varieties. So I never intended to make fruit my career. It's totally by default. I followed a number of other careers, and I wrote a book in 1991 about all of the varieties I grew of apples, and there were 500 of those. And from some sudden reason, I started getting calls from all over the world. People wanted to know about these varieties, how they could get the book. And so I had a production nursery and orchard for probably 40 years. And in 1997, I closed it down totally to devote the rest of my life to education. And there's no better place for the education than here at Monticello, because in the shadow of Thomas Jefferson as a fruit gardener and as a vegetable gardener, there's no better. He was so creative, and so much of this is done in the spirit of Jefferson. And of course, Jefferson had many varieties in his orchards. He made cider, which I did a cider workshop this morning, which talked a lot about Jefferson and his exploits with cider, as well as those he has in his orchards. There are a few still missing in the restoration of this orchard, but in time, and in the next 100 years, I hope we find them, or somebody finds them. I'd have to have a medical breakthrough. But it's utterly amazing what is happening on Montalto this morning. It is, these people are so excited, enthusiastic, and they will certainly go away enriched, because there is something horticultural for everybody who comes, whether they are looking for the perfect tomato taste or whether they want to learn how to do something in the garden. This is the place to be. And the site is spectacular. There is, we can, for the first time, look down on Monticello, the 400 feet down, which is lower. And Jefferson, of course, had great plans for this whole thing, and we expect that much of it would be horticultural. There were forests, there were the observation tower was planned for here, but I'm sure Mr. Jefferson would be very pleased that this is sort of a bulwark for his horticulture. And it is very positive that it certainly will be repeated in the ensuing years. Anyone who does not get here today should really mark their calendars for the next year, because and look at the Monticello Saturdays in the Garden schedule. There is something for everybody, and it's one of Peter Hatch's greatest achievements, in my opinion, the education program that he has instituted. The significance is that the public is resisting the false marketing ideas that have been rammed down their throats. They are discovering that locally you can produce some foods that will really challenge your palate. And I've done apple tastings here at Monticello for 19 years, and everyone goes away generally with the thought, I will never buy another apple in the supermarket. I just cannot stomach it, literally. So I think that is one of the things that's happening. The consumer is being educated that there are other sources of foods that they have access, as well as these foods are locally grown. They create jobs. They the beginning of many cottage industries that we will see alone. With the apple alone, we find that cider is looming. The Albemarle Cider Works at North Garden is one of two of the professional ciders in Virginia. I have had the pleasure of designing the orchards for cideries along the eastern seaboard, as well as some in the west. And so with my finger on the pulse of it all, I call it the new American agriculture in America. It is happening, and it's going to change much. It's going to fracture the commercial distribution systems, because people won't be saying, oh, I want to get some corn out of Iowa to eat. If they will do without, rather than eat something that tastes substandard. So the markets are opening up. More and more people commercially are developing gardens, truck gardens, orchards, and the byproducts will be things like someone at some time is going to say, I have a surplus of apples and I'm going to dry these apples and bag them and sell them. So you've got a whole cottage industry there, as well as the cider and you're changing the form of these. It's so portable. You can, an apple you can put in your pocket and walk around for a week, pull it out and eat it and enjoy it. But with strawberries, it would be another story. So there are fresh fruits, fresh vegetables becoming indelible now in their taste memories. So people will deny themselves rather than eat something that doesn't taste very good. That is happening throughout the nation, the United States, as well as abroad. And I think what is, for the first time, people are discovering that we really don't need to can pumpkin in California and ship the can to Virginia. The energy that is expended is enormous, and it costs more for the market, and it costs more for the very preparation of it. And when it arrives and the can is opened and someone makes a pie out of it or whatever, it doesn't taste good. So pumpkins will keep more Halloween. Pumpkin growers should grow the pie pumpkins so that people will discover that not only can they make them fresh at Halloween, but they can can the pumpkin and have it available the year round. I think a lot of them are going to be the businesses themselves. They will be models. Very much as Albemarle Cider Works is for cider, Vintage Virginia Apples is for orchards. They have full education programs too, which I'm involved. And this will be part of the model that will be followed. At the same time, I think the consumer is going to be demanding it. And I like to take even a few steps further back and like to think that our whole agriculture education system that was based on the land-grant universities is going to change. Whereas the over-specialization that they have, someone can actually take a degree in vegetable gardening rather than a specific disease that attacks a kumquat. So it will be sort of a slow evolution of education and consumer demand that will, within, this is going out on a limb, but within a decade, I think Americans will be healthier, they will be happier, and because if you don't eat good foods, you're going to be an unhappy person. Eating if you find a real ripe peach or apple, find yourself a corner, sit down, cut it, smell it for a while, and even give it a little lick and enjoy that flavor, and then slowly, take 10 minutes or 15 minutes to eat the apple. It is the best form of meditation you can do.
Well, now we know why he's really known as the wizard of all things apple. Now, an apple a day might keep the doctor away, but if you need some real healing, check out this with healing herbs.
There is a kind of an allopathic use of nutrients, but I still always go back. You can treat it acutely, but then you're always really want to get it from your food, because we're dependent on transportation, we're dependent on petrochemical industry. Who makes the capsules, who makes the bottles, who transports it? So obviously, this whole gathering, everything your show is about local. Where can I get my medicine? Who's growing my medicine? Where does it grow? And there's many traditions, the Tibetan medicine, Chinese medicine, that say when you harvest your medicine, and I'm sure this applies to food, within a 70-mile radius, that medicine has a vibration 10, 12, 15 times stronger than if I bought my herbs from a grower in California, which I do because I have a lot of graduate students. They're starting herb farms, but we buy pounds of herbs for our clinic. And so where am I going to get pounds? I've got to go to California. They're great plants, it's great medicine, but it's not as though it was grown in the Blue Ridge and had that whole essence of the Blue Ridge. It's an exciting time now because we want to pick the best of all the different worlds. But for somebody to be on a medication for the rest of their life, for high blood pressure, for a newcomer to this type 2 diabetes, that's criminal. They don't need to do that. And if there's a way that our country can begin to understand, I don't have to be on this medication. I don't have to do what they tell me to do. I can take this. I can understand how food alone and walking a mile a day can lower my blood pressure. That's revolutionary. Eat some oatmeal and put slippery elm powder on your oatmeal and astragalus and, again, using the plant medicines. In India, China, they don't separate. You go into a Chinese hospital, they have the diagnosis, and then they have the recipe and the formula for what soup you eat. And we all know the atrocious food we get in hospitals. It's antithetical in our modern, advanced first world nation where, the basic, most fundamental medicine we should be getting in a hospital is absolutely devoid of any nutrition. So traditional peoples in their traditional hospitals will have the diet as a prescription. And then they'll put the herbs and the roots and the different, in that food. And that's heaven to me.
Now that we're all holistically healed with healthy herbs, where will the next generation of farmers come from? Let's check out the greenhorns.
These are some of the seed balls that were made by some of the children today. So these are the future farmers of America who have been making these. And so each one of these little balls, this one you can see it's drying out. And each one of these little seeds is, it's like a young farmer who has a vision and a purpose and a drive. And what we want to do is to support that seed and support that young farmer as they develop and grow and make sure that they have access to training and capital, make sure that they can go to school and learn business skills, learn the agronomic skills that they need to succeed in agriculture. So our mission as an organization is to support the next generation in farming. And we do that various ways. We produce events for young farmers all over the country. We produce a radio show once a week. We have a documentary film about young farmers. We have a guidebook and a lot of stuff online. So basically we're working to support the young people who are going to feed the future of America.
Thanks for joining us for another Meet the Farmer TV. And please let each of our underwriters know you appreciate their support bringing you Meet the Farmer TV. Check out their websites and tell them personally you appreciate their support underwriting Meet the Farmer TV. Join us next week on Meet the Farmer TV for a prototype organization, the Local Food Hub, formed in Charlottesville to support local farmers and local food communities. Meet the Farmer TV is made possible by Planet Earth Diversified, Melly Productions, and Leslie P. Jenkins Photography and Graphic Design. Culpeper's Channel 21, helping to preserve the agricultural history of Virginia, and Flavor Magazine, serving the Piedmont's local food and wine culture.